Hello everyone, and welcome to another battle report for Wargames Review. This battle features the Bretonnians versus the Dwarfs at the 775 point level in a playtest game. Many of you may wonder, well, what is a playtest game? And simply enough, that's just me playing against myself, essentially. I'm testing out the two armies to see if I like the design. The main reason I did this battle report was to test my software that I'm using for the audio and video to see how I like the battle report. So I played against myself, took the pictures I would want to take if I were playing a real game. So I'll go ahead and narrate it as though it's just a regular old battle. Obviously some of the strategy is a bit limited when you're playing against yourself. Let's start by introducing the units here, and we'll start with the Dwarf Army. First unit on top of the hill, we have 10 Quarrelers, no command. That drummer in the middle, just pretend he's got a crossbow. Next we have a cannon crew, and this is just plain old cannon crew with the engineer upgrade. Engineer has 2 pistols. We have a big unit of Dwarf Warriors here, full command. And next we have a unit of Dwarf Iron Breakers. Now the Iron Breakers are partially proxied. Some of the guys in the front row are the correct models, but some are not. Right on the far left there you'll see the Thane. He's kind of the thicker guy with the pointy horns and the axe coming straight forward. And then there's an overview of the army of the Dwarfs. On the Bretonnian side, on the far left, we have a lance of Knights of the Realm. The general is the guy with the orange sticky tack underneath him on our front right. We have a block of men-at-arms here with full command. We have mounted yeomen, 5 strong, just a musician there. Mounted yeomen do have the peasant's duty special rule, meaning they do not cause the knights or nobles to flee, and they can use the leadership of those knights or nobles. In the woods we have a group of skirmishing bowmen. I think there's about 12 or 13 there with a musician champion. And at the back we have 3 Pegasus knights. I know one of the guys is missing his rider, but I'll get him on there in a few seconds. And first turn, we're ready to go. The Bretonnians did pray for the blessing of the lady, so the Dwarfs decided to take first turn. Right away, you'll notice one mistake that I made representing the Bretonnians, is that I put them in the traditional lance formation. In this particular game, it would have been wiser to go in a long single line to make it across the field, because getting into battle is more important than being in that lance formation. That gave the cannon a really juicy target. Now, the cannon did deploy after the lance was already down, but I still could have deployed him in a long line. Anyhow, the cannon takes its shot. Perfect guess, of course. Rolls perfectly. 2 wounds. And ward saves don't succeed. Roll to pass the panic test, so that is good news. A perfect 8. Yikes, that's exactly what's needed. So thank goodness they didn't roll any higher. They get to live to fight another day. Dwarf's next action, the Quarrelers take aim at the mounted yeoman on the other side of the field. Mounted yeomen go down pretty hard. I'm not sure what that dice roll's representing, because a 2 would not have wounded, but 3 would have. I think that dice was just placed there. But anyway, 4 of the 5, all but the painted one, go down. And he does pass his panic test. Remember, he gets to use the nearby Pegasus Knight's leadership, but he wouldn't need it anyway with a nice 4 roll. That's the end of the Dwarf's turn. Here's the beginning of Bretonnian's first turn. And you see them moving up, just sort of in a very general way, getting ready to charge as best they can. The Lance of Knights is just going to try to go into the Quarrelers, or maybe the cannon, just something to stop that shooting, because that's the game breaker at this point. Everybody else just creeping up. Over here you can see more creeping up. That one mounted yeoman, boy, I don't know what good he's going to be, but maybe he'll try to get in on the action somehow. The bowmen in the forest, they take aim at the Dwarf Warriors, pluck down 1 guy. You remember there was 1 extra guy in the back row, so now they have exactly 4 rows of Dwarfs. Alright, next turn. The Dwarfs are creeping up, just taking a little bit of movement there, trying to angle in such a way that the Warriors cannot get flanked. Iron Breakers don't want to be too aggressive, just want to stand there prepared to receive a charge. Obviously, the Dwarfs know that, if the Pegasus Knights charge either of those blocks, they're going to get smoked, so they don't really have any need to go forward real aggressively. Cannon takes another shot. That dice showing a number 1 is where the cannon lands. Gets a perfect bounce. Fortunately, the general makes his... well, actually, he wasn't in line for the lookouts to roll, so he was okay anyway. Unfortunately, ward save again. Didn't do enough good. And that is the roll for the panic test. So yeah, rolling boxcars. That's not good news when that's your general and your most expensive unit, and they're right next to the table edge. So they flee off the board. That's probably the right, frankly.
But hey, let's go ahead and play it out and see what happens. Quarrelers pick off 2 men-at-arms. They're okay. No need to take a panic test. Pegasus Knights come into the cannon crew. Only 2 can fit, so you got the champion on the side closest to the front of the screen here. The guy with sticky tack preventing him from falling over is not the champion. And let's see, that roll there, I'm not really 100% sure what that roll is describing, to be honest with you, but the first turn looks like there was a wound on one of the Pegasus, and Dwarfs must be their roll for break test. Because, yeah, let's see, 2, 4, 6. Pegasus would have outnumbered. Dwarfs had a wound. Tie goes to the musician, and the Pegasus Knights did have a musician. So I think you're looking at the break test for the Dwarfs. Dwarf cannon crews and all artillery crews are always stubborn, so that stinks. And since Dwarfs have leadership 9, they are tough to break. You pretty much have to kill every single one of them. And here's just an overview of the board. Oh yeah, actually this is the beginning of Bretonnian movement. You see the bowman moved, just creeping up a little closer. The mounted yeoman went off to the side there. I don't know what I'm going to do with him. We'll see. From this angle, you can see just some more general movement of the battlefield. This is just another shot of the next combat here. I apologize, folks. I said that wrong. The overview you just saw was of the dwarf turn. And this picture is showing that the quarrelers, instead of shooting this turn, did a 90-degree turn so that unless the cannon crew breaks, they'll be able to help flank the Pegasus Knights on the next dwarf turn. So here's just an overview of where things are positioned now. Dwarfs have gotten themselves right in front of the men-at-arms. They're not afraid of a fight. In combat, the 2 champions, the engineer on the dwarf side and the Pegasus champion, go after each other, and the dwarf engineer does bite the dust there, but again, they got a 7 for their break tests. They're stubborn, so they're still okay, still hanging in there. And on the Bretonnian turn now, men-at-arms wasn't really sure what to do with them, so they're actually just backing up, buying some time, I guess. They don't want to take their frontage away, but they want to draw the warriors away from that hill for whatever reason. Can't say I have a great reason, but that's what they're doing. Mounted Yeoman is going up to, I would say march block the Ironbreakers, but you really can't march block Dwarfs, because Dwarfs have a special rule. They can always march. Now, admittedly, their marching is a whopping 6 inches, but they can always do it even when somebody is nearby. So really the goal of that Mounted Yeoman is just to get him to attack. They'll line up with his flank and surge straight ahead, and instead of being able to go directly at the bowman, he'll just be a noble sacrifice. The bowmen shoot at the dwarf warriors in the top right-hand corner. See their roll there? That must have been the 2 wound roll. Strength 3, toughness 4. Yeah, that makes sense. One guy went down. He didn't make his armor save, and that's ends up being really important, because you'll notice that back row of dwarfs is now incomplete, so they can only claim +2 for their rank bonus. So in the battle raging on again with the cannon crew and the peg knights here, one more dwarf sneaks a wound on, goes on the Pegasus Knight in the back row, who's already wounded, so he goes down.